Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of BrilTalks. Today, I have with me a very dear friend, a very special person. He's a director of Outlier Group. He's a serial entrepreneur into iron ore mining, coal mining, logistics, and much more, technology and more. Why Nisschal is such a dear friend is because, one, we went to B school together. Number two, he has this very special quality. If you need help, Nisschal is always there. So a few years back, I started a company in the services space, and we were doing some training programs, and it was an untested program when another friend, Deepak Sadhwani, and I called Nisschal up and said, "Hey, Nischu, we have this program. I think it's really good." He was in Indonesia at that point. And he said, "Hey, very good. Come over to Indonesia and, try the program out on my group." And he paid us for it. So there are friends, there's family, and there are people like Nisschal. Nisschal is, very special. And I say this from the bottom of my heart because there are very, very few friends like Nisschal who actually stick out and help their friends when they need it. And untested, unverified products, very few friends actually come out and try it before strangers in the market accepts it. So Nisschal is very special. Thank you, Nisschal, for joining me on this episode of Brill Talks today. It's a real pleasure talking to you, as always.
Thanks for having me, Jairam. And on the breathing managers bit, I think the pleasure and the advantage and the benefits were all ours. We were glad that you came down all the way to Indonesia, did the program for our team, and we did immensely benefit from it. No doubt about it.
You are very kind, Nisschal. Thank you very much. So, Nischu, I hope I can refer to you as Nischu on this program with your permission.
Good feel
Okay.
offered on
Okay. So, Nischu, you dropped out of college. Okay. You were really smart. You were my group mate, and I know how smart you were. And you dropped out of college to take care of your business. So, could you tell us a bit about that phase of your life and why you quit, your MBA to rush to take care of your business? What was happening there?
So how it all started was, first I'll come back to the group bit. So we were in the same group, we were in the same class. And one thing which immensely helped me through, it still helps me, is we used to have these group meetings in college. And I was the one and only one who was either always late or attending the group meetings for half-heartedly. I was not interested somehow. I was there in the class, I was listening to the lectures, I was doing my assignments, I was giving my exams. And Jairam always used to tell me that, Nishu, I am telling you, if you don't get out of this habit of yours, it's going to be very, very difficult for you when you go out there in your professional life. And it did, when I started working for the first couple of months, it was very difficult to keep a time, to be disciplined, to have a schedule. And then I always used to think that, that guy, Jairam, used to always tell me that I have to change this. And I did. And I'm so thankful to Jairam for telling me that. That was one of the learnings I had from B school.
This is embarrassing, man. Because I know how smart you are.
No, so yes, I mean, the verdict is still not out on that. So, yeah, so how it started was I fell ill in our almost after 7 months of Great Lakes. Out of the 11 months course, I fell ill, and then I just went back to my hometown, to Delhi from Chennai, to recover. And during that time, I saw that my father was struggling a little bit, because he's again an entrepreneur, and it was not a family business. He did not have the support of his family or his father or brothers or anybody else. So I saw he's struggling a little bit. He, in a very, very, cryptic way, just wanted to tell me that, I need help and you have to come back and whatever. So then when I went back to college, then of course I had missed about 4 weeks of such a very fast paced and, intensive course. So it was difficult for me to start after months gap. So I took the decision that since I'll not be anyways getting a degree this year, I might as well, do something worth helping my father. And that's how it all started.
And I think you did a fantastic job. I know you did, because, that was the period when iron ore was in demand in China. And,
Right.
I think you had a lot of work, and I'm sure your father couldn't have managed it alone.
Right. So that time we were just getting out of the agricultural trading and getting into the iron ore trading business, because the agricultural subsidies had been abolished by the government. So the business was no more viable. And the next big, hype, or the next big boom was in iron ore that time, because China was on a crazy buying spree for the next till recently. It was just like that. So that is when we were getting into the trading business, and then we got into the iron ore mining business from there. So that's how it all started for me, all by chance.
Very good. And how is it that your business and life took you to Indonesia? I'd like to hear your story on how you started off over there, because it's not at all easy to set up a business, build a team in a country like Indonesia. That's always fascinated me, Nishu.
So again, I do believe in the Celestine prophecy, and I believe in destiny. So there were no plans. I had absolutely no knowledge about the coal business. I was still learning how to move iron ore from one place in the mine to the port and all the way to China. But what was happening was that at that time the iron ore freights, the ocean freights to transport the ore from India to China was so high that they used to constitute about 40 to 45% of our delivered cost. And somehow, I just got into exploring how can I get that down. So the easier way to do that was to get back coal from Indonesia, because India was importing a lot of coal from Indonesia. So by doing that, our transport costs would go down by about 40%, thereby increasing our margins by about 20% just in the iron ore business. So that was the idea, to bring down the cost of the Indian iron ore exports. And that is how we started exploring Indonesia. And for almost 2.5 years, we did pay our tuition fees. They were massive failures because it is not easy. It was, and even today is one of the most unorganized sectors in Indonesia. And we were not, it was not something that was being started with $100 million investment, or you have a team of 100 people who knows what mining is. I mean, we had already uh, got allocated iron ore mines in India, but we were still not operating them. We were still traders. So we had no clue about mining. And one thing led to other. So when we started exploring how to import coal from Indonesia, it came across as a very good opportunity to me, because the investment was relatively low to start a business over there, but it was highly risky, and it was very, very unorganized. And I thought that somehow it would be suitable to my style of working, and I'll be able to manage this. So for almost 2.5, 3 years, we did burn or waste or pay the tuition fees a lot of money. They were failures. But finally, in March 2009, one of our projects which we were doing due diligence on, that turned out to be okay. And then it was, from there, it was onwards and upwards. And that is right about the time when the world was facing a huge recession. And it basically enabled us to get into the business cheaply than we would have 2.5 years back, when we were wasting all that money, or post 2010, 2011, when suddenly coal was on fire. Everybody was, the hunger for coal globally was just going up in India and China both. So that was sort of a, again, a stroke of luck that we entered into the business that time. And then, yeah, I mean, I started with the one assistant.
I was going to come to that. Who was your first employee, and how did you recruit that guy?
My first employee was this kid, Stella Rosiana. She was 19 at that time, and she was studying.
And a local Indonesian.
Local Indonesian. She was studying her in her graduation. So her her classes were in the evening after 5 p.m. every day. So she was looking for a job, and how I recruited her. So I went to, so once we had, incorporated the company, I knew that I'm going to be here. I'm going to be staying over here. This was 2009. So I had gone to a business center to hire an office room. As I was leaving after signing the contract, I ran into a random person in the elevator. I asked her that, look, I've just, what do you do? Hi, hello, blah, blah, blah,
Huh.
And I said, I've just started a company. I've just taken a room over here. I'm starting an office, and I'm looking for somebody to be an assistant. So if you are interested, or you know somebody who is interested, please. This is my number. This is my email address. This is the room number of my office on the 50th floor. So please ask them to get in touch. And next day, this girl Stella, she got in touch with me. Deepak knows her very well. He did the program with her. So that's how that was the first employee, the first
No,
recruit.
it's amazing, right? You've got to get talking and things start happening.
Yeah, I mean, I learned one thing that I'm not much of a talker, as you know, but I did learn one thing, between those 4 or 5 years when I started working, that if you don't ask and if you don't try, it'll never happen any which ways, and you have nothing to lose by talking, by asking a question, by trying. So
The
that was
worst is going to be a no, right?
yeah, exactly. Anyways, if you're not trying, it's still a no. So the biggest I would say strength of mine was to once I started working was to walk up to total strangers, which all of us do now at every point of time in our life. Walk up to total strangers, get talking in the flights, not be hesitant about telling what am I doing. So there's an opportunity over this. So this was something that I was a very bad networking person, I must say. I do feel that I have not done bad on that front.
I don't think you've done badly at all, Mr. I know what a see. I know what a good people person you are.
To find.
Yeah. So then you got the first employee, and then what happened? How
So
did your recruitment engine start? How many people did you have in your team in Indonesia?
So at the peak, when we were operating six coal mines at once, we had a team of close to 214 or 215 people, of which in office desk jobs, desk staff was about 60%, and rest were field workers. So mining was all outsourced to contractors. So we had no mining staff as such, but they were supervisors, they were controllers, they were logistics administrative guys, they were loading and unloading supervisors, there were mining engineers who were working on our behalf, supervising the contractors. So at the peak, which was 2014, we had about 240 or 215 people belonging to, of course, majority of them were belonging to Indonesia, and then maybe 10% were to India. But we had people from 19 countries working in our company in Indonesia. Out of the 12 direct reportees that I had, they were representing about 9 different countries again. And so I had the opportunity and luck to work with people right from from the as west as uh, LA to as east as Sydney. So I've worked with the people from the length and breadth of the world. So it did help me learn a lot how different people work, how different people think differently, and how basically it gave me a lot of perspective to not look at problems and solutions from my own mind. And one of the most important reasons for that was because everybody had a different journey, and they had grown up in a different country, in a different culture, and they would bring all that different perspective, that was really helping our company grow, and me also grow as a person.
Lovely. Mr. You're a vegetarian, right?
Right.
How did you manage with food? Did you have a cook that you took from India when you went to
uh,
Indonesia? You spent so much time over there. I would always wonder how you're surviving.
so for the first year it was really tough. I was having all kind of junk food thrice a day, which is showing, obviously. But then I was fortunate enough to find help. She was a very, very kind lady, helped me for almost 6.5 years. She was my lifeline. I would have been paralyzed if it was not for her, right from, cooking food to everything and anything that we take for granted, in our homes.
Correct, correct.
I was getting that.
We are learning to look at those things during the
Yeah.
lockdown now.
Yes. True. True.
Yeah. So you were flying to Harvard. So you finally did your MBA, right? So you kept flying to Harvard and back when you were in Indonesia. Am I right?
Yes. So interestingly, after Great Lakes, I had started another MBA. That was a part-time MBA in Delhi. It was a correspondence distance learning through a US university called the University of Arizona. and there was a business school over here called the Moti Apollo School of Business. So I did join that, and I did drop out of that after a while, and I made a couple of really great friends for life over there. So and even at Harvard, I mean, I think uh, I have my friends from my childhood, of course, from my school, from my college, but the most precious thing that I have, or the most precious earning that I have had from Great Lakes, from that MBA in Delhi, and from Harvard Business School has been the relationships. I mean, the best of my friends today, who I look up to as a friend, mentor, guide, I would call them for advice. All of my friends who I've built relationships with in these schools, and actually in through somehow or the other, with my friends from Great Lakes, some of my friends from Modi Apollo, and my friends from Harvard Business School, I have managed to start some or do some kind of a business which was successful, and I got to learn a lot, in different parts of the world. So that was the real. I mean, that B school really gave me the B. It did.
Lovely. So, coming to sales, in Indonesia, how did you go about doing your sales? And at this point, I have to mention, our dear friend Deepak. I think he's one of the best sales guys. I don't think I'll be able to interview him, but then I have to mention Deepak because he's one of the best sales guys I've ever met. Amazing at relationship building.
You can interview him, and you can interview him on transformation. The guy has got six-pack abs now.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I think I'll do that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that bit. He never told me.
He's doing push-ups, he's doing headstands, and he's doing diamond push-ups and all that.
Wow.
So I'm watching videos all the time, and yeah, so there's some inspiration there.
Oh, yes.
So for the first few years, even though we did feel that we are like great salesmen, the product or the commodity was selling itself because demand had always far exceeded supply. It is when the markets used to crash, then we used to realize that it was not the sales that we were doing, or the demand of the product. Why we were selling was purely based on relationships. The relationships that we were able to cultivate, me along with the all the senior guys in my team, with buyers around the world, right from Taiwan to Philippines to Thailand, India, the relationships that we had cultivated as a first generation, very tiny mine owner, with giants who were the top importers and producers of power in their own countries, in Taiwan and India. It was all relationship based. And that is when I truly realized that business is actually only about two things. You have to cultivate your people, and you have to cultivate your external relationships. Unless you have something which is proprietary and the world cannot do without it, like if you have the cure to the coronavirus disease, and you could be the biggest pardon my French, asshole in the world, but you would be able to sell it. You don't have to do anything. You could be the worst guy in the world, but if not for that, it is business. I think it thrives on relationships.
So that kind of USP is also very hard to come by in most industries these days, right?
That is true.
Yeah. So what is the Outlier Group focusing on now, Nischo? What keeps you busy these days?
So we have scaled down our coal mining operations in Indonesia because of the changing laws and the demand and supply. And we feel that the world is moving towards a more renewable energy demand, which is the right way to go. So we are still we are doing our iron ore mining in Andhra. We have an IT company which is into logistics automation. At the same time, moving away from power generating thermal coal, we are focusing more on steel making coal, and we are in process of development of coal mines in the African region.
Nice.
So we should see our product in the market in about 2.5 to 3 years from now, because the logistics are a bigger challenge over there. It takes time to build the infrastructure and everything. And I have had a few exits in the last 5 years from modern age businesses, like the retail thing, the education bit, and so most of these, other than the coal which I supervise directly, Then we have the IT company, which again I am. I am the more of a strategic and executive kind of person over there, not a day-to-day handler of that business. So my personal time is mostly going into developing the coal mines, and also now we are foraying into building materials. We have started to mine granite again in Andhra, and we're exploring the possibility of a manufacturing unit to support that mining operation. So personally, for me, it'll always be mining. I mean, that is what I know how to do, and it
Good.
might change from A to B, but yeah, I mean, coal and mining is at my core now.
Yeah, you need that focus, right? But you can have multiple investments and stuff like that, but then you need
Right.
to focus on what drives the economic engine for the business.
Right.
So how is your relationship with your father? Does he just give you a free hand, or do you speak every day? How does he mentor you? Can you just talk about that? Because I work with my father too, and it's a great experience. So I'd like to know how you work with your father.
Interesting you asked that, because I don't know how different or similar it is from everybody else, but it is unique, I feel, in a way. So while I was growing up, after the ages of 12 or 13, I don't remember in my summer vacations I would want to go to a relative's house or go to my grandmother's to stay. I would want to go to my father's office every day. I would, just put up a chair next to his desk, and I would keep irritating the hell out of him the entire day. I did that for good 6-7 years,
Good.
and that I did actually learn a lot of things from him. One of the most important was that he always used to believe everybody, until unless he was sure that somebody's there's something wrong. He was a believer. He's a believer.
Very good.
And when I did start helping him out, in 2004, the same thing happened. He just gave me a broad framework of what we were doing, where he feels I could help, and from there on, it was me on my own. We used to talk very frequently, but it was never a micromanaging on his part. He let me grow. He just, it's like he'd given me a free hand, and he knew when he has to,
Step in.
something or correct me, or preemptively tell me that look out for this. And even today, even in all those 15 years, I've been away from home for the age of from 2006, 2005. From 2005 until 2016, I had not been living with my parents. I had not been living in Delhi. So even then, we used to talk a lot, but I never got the feeling where he's trying to, really guide me step by step or trying to micromanage. He was guiding me without guiding me. I think that is the best way to guide. He could see where I was going wrong, and a few times he did let me go down that wrong path, knowing that it's not going to be suicidal or fatal for me to go down that path, and then learn from my own mistakes and experience. So I next time don't have to look over my shoulder or look for advice, and I can be a better judge of what I'm doing myself.
I think
So
I think
even today,
fathers like yours and mine are real gold. No, I think it's very very similar approach that my father takes.
I mean, no B school could have taught me what my father did.
Correct, correct.
Likewise, I've seen you have always been very very the autonomy that we get as a second generation entrepreneur, third generation entrepreneur. I think that is very important for one to take ahead what their families have built.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you just you become a remote controlled robot, which is, I don't think that's any fun.
Right. Nishu, can you speak a bit about Shiplight? How are you involved with Shiplight? We are using Shiplight. We're very happy with the services. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I am, first of all, thanks for trying us out, and I'm glad you like it. My cousin and I, we started developing something in 2012, 2013, which crashed badly. And then, I mean, I've always had that bug to do something in the IT space. When I was 16 years old, I had spent almost 1.5 lakh rupees, and I bought all the NCERT and CBSE books there in the market.
Wow.
I rented a few scanners, and I got them all scanned. And then I, went to my dad with this business idea that I have. Look, now anybody can pay 500 rupees, go onto the internet and read the book, and they don't have to pay massive amounts of money. And then he told me, what about the copyright? so that is how it all started. So I've always had this fascination to do something in information technology. So my cousin came up with the idea of basically he's providing a better platform to sellers who are selling on Amazon or on their own on their website to manage the logistics, because he was himself a seller on Amazon, and he was finding it very challenging to fulfill his orders. So that was the inception of the idea, and that's how we started. We completely bootstrapped. We started developing the platform in November 2015. We went live in June 2016, and we are today one of the biggest or one of the top two companies providing that service in the Indian ecosystem. Uh,
Fantastic.
Undoubtedly, we are the best. We are the better one. I am proud to say that.
Very good.
And, we have clients from manufacturers to retailers to new age product selling companies like yours, and we are now available to bulk or we are now in the B2B space, wherein if somebody has to ship a partial truckload to their distributor or retailer, we facilitate that also.
So, how is the logistics scene now during this COVID time? What is being allowed? What is not allowed? What is considered essential? Is Shiplight functioning now? I'm sure you have some
We are
logistics happening.
we are functioning. We are functioning. We are working from home, all of us. But yes, I mean, we are not able to cater to all our customers, because again the government has put an embargo, and we can only ship essential items like your grocery items, pharmaceuticals, or not exactly pharmaceuticals, but hand sanitizers, masks, gloves. Anybody who's shipping things like meal supplements, grocery products, consumables like that. So during this time, of course, before the lockdowns were announced, there was it was crazy in the Indian logistics space, because everybody could already see the writing on the wall. So they were just trying to, order their essentials or and non-essentials for the next 2-3 months. So right now, like everybody else, anybody can only ship essentials, and we are seeing that it's going to be phased out maybe in the next 4 to 8 weeks. More of the non-essential items would be allowed, like apparels, electronics, anything under the sun. And the logistics space, fortunately or unfortunately, uh, Indian e-commerce has been growing very rapidly, much more than the rest of the world. We are the market for the giants like the likes of Amazon, and Walmart has invested in Flipkart. So the Indian e-commerce space and the related logistic industry is been waiting for this boom, but it might just be accelerated with the whole. We are all a creature of habit now. A lot of people would be forced to not go out to buy and order it online, even though they have not been in the habit of, and then it'll be a habit, and we do see that the 12 months after the lockdowns are lifted 100%, the next 12 months growth would be probably higher than what the industry was expecting it to be, and it is looking like a good time for the Indian economy as a whole, not just the logistics.
Definitely.
In the next 3 to 5 years, because just look at the way we've always been skeptical of our administration, the ability of the bureaucracy and everything, but the way our administration and the government has handled this crisis, including our people, we as a population,
Fantastic.
30 crores, everybody has supported the cause, and where we would have been probably 100 million or 150 million cases today, we are barely touching 31,000 now, and
Correct.
I think we'll probably peak and get over by the time we are 65,000.
Yeah.
So the world has also seen this. The world has taken notice of the fact that India, if want, they can do what they want to do, and the leadership is there. They have that that guts of steel to do what it takes to take India beyond the $5 trillion economy.
Correct.
And the more I'm talking to anybody outside India, everybody is they're confident about India, they're confident about the Indian economy, and we don't have to dole out $2 trillion packages to
So
say
the Facebook Reliance Geo deal shows that, right? 43,000 and odd crores coming in at the right time.
Exactly.
And that's going to transform the Kirana e-commerce bit.
It will, a lot of the offline stores are going to now go online, and it is just going to be the ease of consumption is going to grow in this country. With the ease of consumption growing, with the purchasing power growing, continuing to grow every year, I mean, India is just bound for great times ahead.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, Nischu.
Thanks a lot, Jairam.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. I think we've got to do our coffee or dinner soon.
We'll do that soon, hopefully, and we'll take, either of us is going to take a flight and do that, hopefully, and
I know.
Goodbye to coronavirus very soon.
And we'll fly Air India.
We fly Air India.
Anyway, on that note, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Jairam.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Thanks a lot.
Bye.